homeowners in the end. We lived there for 6 months. It's the only house on this ancient house where we've been able to hang around for a couple of hours, rather than just an hour or two. A panicked email regarding wallpaper was written by a banker in 2003. Television history was altered by that email. After earning six figures at Bank of America, Kevin O'Connor went on to host the most reputable house show in America. He established an empire, earned Emmy nominations, and amassed a $7 million fortune. However, something has been simmering. He won't say the name of Bob Va. He publicly criticizes HGTV programs. The cast continues to retire. Strange rumors concerning his future are currently circulating. Following months of conjecture, Kevin is prepared to speak the truth. Even his biggest followers will be shocked by what he discloses. The narrative of Kevin O'Connor doesn't start on a television set. It begins in the midst of a building site. He was born in Maplewood, New Jersey, in 1968 or 1969, into a house that never felt quite completed. Growing up with two sisters and four brothers, Kevin was surrounded by scaffolding and sawdust. Their family home frequently served as a construction site because his father was a civil engineer. The children helped pour concrete and passed around hammers rather than playing tag or riding bikes. Kevin was proficient in reading blueprints, hanging drywall, and measuring wood by the time he was in elementary school. He was learning how to frame a door by heart, while other children were learning times tables. It was noisy, chaotic, and entirely typical for him. He learned more than simply how to construct things in that setting. It helped him understand how structures functioned. Later on, same sense would distinguish him from all other home improvement TV hosts. At 19, however, life threw him a curveball. Kevin abruptly started losing consciousness while undergoing military training. He would simply keep collapsing. After testing, doctors found a cardiac murmur. It was more than a small problem. His ability to remain in the military at all was seriously called into doubt. This is where it becomes peculiar, though. All of his medical records from that period disappeared after that diagnosis. Lost. No one knew why. Later in life, he would have trouble tracking his medical history because of that lost document trail. The event altered the course of his life. His aspirations to serve in the military dimmed as uncertainty, and the need for a contingency plan took their place. He had to reconsider everything, even the possibility of pursuing a career with a cardiac ailment for which there were no longer any official records. He therefore resorted to teaching. He received his diploma from Newark's St. Benedict's Preparatory School in 1986. Kevin needed discipline, which the strict school required. After that, he continued his education at the College of the Holy Cross, where he earned his degree in 1990 after studying history. For someone who would eventually host a construction program, history may seem like a strange option, but it taught him research techniques, how to connect concepts, and how to properly explain things, skills that would be crucial in the future. But he wasn't done yet. In 1999, he went back to school and graduated with an MBA from Boston University. This paved the way for lucrative business positions. By the end of his schooling, he was more than simply a bookworm. He was self-assured enough to enter boardrooms and compete. Kevin started a fast-track career in banking instead of just landing a job. He began his career in the sports finance division of Fleet Bank. This was no dull job in a cubicle. He contributed to the funding of stadiums and expansive sports complexes. He was doing more than simply math. He was contributing to the construction of the urban gathering spots. Leading executives were impressed by his strategic thinking. Commercial real estate presented a greater possibility as a result. He quickly rose through the ranks of Bank of America. Kevin was a senior vice president by his early 30s. Millions of dollars were in his portfolios. He had all the perks of a high-flying corporate life, including stock options, bonuses, and a salary. He made well over six figures. On the exterior, it appeared flawless. Then he took everyone by surprise. Kevin O'Connor resigned. He left banks, a prestigious title, and a salary that most people can only imagine. Why? Because he secretly never forgot the sound of drills, the scent of sawdust, or the tactile sensation of a solid wall. In Beverly, Massachusetts, Kevin O'Connor and his spouse Kathleen purchased a stunning Queen Anne Victorian home in 2003. It appeared to be a dream when it was constructed in 1894. However, as soon as they moved in, that dream quickly fell apart. Everything was needed for the house. Renovations to bathrooms, kitchens, and even bedrooms. The wallpaper, however, is the true nightmare. It wasn't simply outdated. It was repeatedly painted over layers upon layers. Each room resembled a time capsule of poor architectural choices. Those walls were scraped for months by Kevin and Kathleen. Typical Victorian dwellings had rounded edges, which made matters more difficult. The wallpaper refused to move. Kevin later remarked, "We were scraping like crazy, and this stuff just wasn't coming off." Kathleen was in charge of the plastering, while Kevin tore down ceilings and walls to make the small kitchen larger. They felt absolutely stuck, tired, and frustrated. In an act of extreme despair, they emailed not just anybody but the cast of the show they had grown up watching, Old House. They were unaware that the creators of the show were working on a brand new spin-off called Ask This Old House. At the same time, it couldn't have come at a better time. According to Kevin's email, there must be a secret method or trick for getting rid of that wallpaper. He only called for assistance. He had no expectations. The crew didn't merely offer tips in response. They offered to come to Kevin's house and do a section there. Kevin was ecstatic. He saw his renovating hero's visit as a one-time occurrence. He was unaware, however, that this visit was about more than wallpaper. The screen exam was confidential. Ask This Old House's Season 1, Episode 22, which aired on March 6, 2003, was videotaped by the team. The set was illuminated by Kevin's interest. Even throughout lunch breaks, he continued to ask questions. The show's contractor, Tom Silva, hardly had time to eat. Later, Kevin made a joke about it, claiming that he harassed Tom whenever he had a break. However, the producers kept a careful eye on everything. They observed more than just a displeased homeowner. On camera, they witnessed a natural, someone who felt like a host and asked the same questions that viewers at home were asking. Kevin even rushed outside to snap a group photo with the team after the shoot. He wanted a photo to save the memory and informed them that he would never see them again. However, 3 weeks later, an unforeseen event occurred. At work, Kevin received a call, no less. He was a senior vice president in Bank of America's commercial real estate division at the time. He thought it was someone requesting a loan when the phone rang, but it wasn't. He was asked to host the show by the producers of This Old House, both the main series and the spin-off. He believed it to be a joke. He was certain that he would return to the bank in a year, so he even begged his employer to leave his job available. The feeling was so surreal. However, it was genuine. He wasn't the only thing the producers wanted. They were prepared to risk the entire show's future on him. This Old House had already had 2 extremely significant changes, so it was a big deal. Bob Vila was the first. Beginning in 1979, he served as the show's original host and helped make it well known. However, VA initially only made $200 of every episode. He was barely earning $800 per episode, even in his last seasons. He made between $47,000 and $188,000 overall over 10 years and 235 episodes, which is less than what many contractors make in a single year. When VA started running advertisements for Rickle Home Centers, the real issue began. In the meanwhile, Weyerhaeuser and Home Depot were sponsoring the program. He was approved by PBS, but the broadcaster withdrew its support. They advised him to decide between the show and the $500,000 sponsorship contract. The money was chosen by VA. He got fired right away. A press release informed his agency. Next up was Steve Thomas. He received an Emmy in 1998 and hosted for 14 years. But he discreetly vanished from television in 2003 when he was 50 years old. No huge announcement, no farewell episode, just a vague mention of wanting to sail and ski. It seemed strange to insiders. He was working on lesser episodes for the DIY network when he abruptly left, despite having contributed to this ancient house become the highest-rated show in its category. The audience was left perplexed. The producers were anxious. There would be a lot of pressure on whoever came next. However, the individual they selected had no prior TV experience. Kevin O'Connor didn't try out. He didn't send in a resume. He didn't request the position. However, he understood. To replace Thomas, the producers had vetted over 400 applicants. Then they stopped searching after one shoot with Kevin. When Kevin received the offer, he was sitting in beach chairs in a basement with Russell Morash, the creator of the show. It was as informal as that. Morash had a very specific reason for choosing him, and he had been with the show since 1979. In 2003, Kevin O'Connor entered This Old House, but he wasn't greeted with small chat or handshakes. He stated, "In Kevin, we found the perfect mixture of optimism and energy, 2 ingredients an old house owner must have to survive." The show's straightforward heating and plumbing expert, Richard Trethoy, just gave him a shovel. Former Bank of America Senior Vice President Kevin unexpectedly found himself excavating ditches for sewer pipes. It wasn't a drama on TV. The task was serious and demanding. No shortcuts or cameras staged it. Richard used it to put him to the test. Was Kevin there to gain the role or just to look the part? Every blister and perspiration drop taught us something. Kevin subsequently stated that the most crucial guideline was imparted to him during those early days. Let the experts take the lead and stop talking and start listening. His entire career would be shaped by that difficult lesson. Richard wasn't the only one who put him through the ordeal. He was also thrown into the deep end by the show's master carpenter, Tom Silva. Kevin wasn't asked to act like he had a saw. Knowing full well that every error would be captured on video, he instructed him to cut genuine wood for real structures. Professional TV hosts didn't appeal to Tom. Instead of just talking about the craft, he wanted someone who could actually learn it. Off camera, Kevin spent hours learning how to hold tools, take accurate measurements, and operate properly without slowing down the crew. He wasn't merely learning how to host. He was integrating with the group, and viewers knew it. Like they did in their own backyards and garages, they watched him struggle, grow, and learn. Then there was an unexpected surprise. Kevin was nominated for an Emmy in 2004, just a year after he joined the show. Excellent host of a service show. He was still unable to find his groove. However, the industry noticed something. Critics who believed a financial guy had no place hosting a technical show were taken aback by that nomination. Steve Thomas and Bob Vila had spent years cultivating their reputations. Kevin completed it in a single season. What mattered were his honesty, his curiosity, and his ability to interact with specialists. And that was demonstrated by that Emmy. He was doing more than hosting. People's perceptions about home remodeling on television were being altered by him. During those initial years, Kevin underwent a transformation. He became aware that he didn't enjoy answering queries while standing off to the side. He truly enjoyed diving in, carrying a hammer, placing bricks, and working hard alongside the group. And everything altered as a result. Kevin became one of the students rather than a teacher for the audience. He transformed interviews into collaborations. In addition to providing him with answers, the specialists were educating him. They were also educating millions of viewers in the process. In addition to making Kevin more approachable, this hands-on approach gave the show a more authentic and grounded vibe, which is precisely what kept viewers interested. The same genuineness permeated Ask This Old House. The show, which debuted in 2002, was initially intended to resemble a magazine segment, but it became much more significant after Kevin joined. He wasn't merely a guest host. He got his hands dirty, tackled genuine problems, and went to real households. This was crazy because of how he was hired in the first place. He was caught while taking down wallpaper in his own house, a man in need of assistance with a project with no prior TV expertise. Kevin had been at the heart of the performance for almost 20 years. By 2025. He joined the editorial board of this old home magazine, in addition to being the show's host, helping to shape the articles that were published in print and on television. His ascent from finance to franchise builder was nearly unthinkable. Kevin wasn't finished yet, though. Yes, he started a third show, Inside This Old House. In 2003, the same year he took over as presenter of This Old House. It provided behind-the-scenes glimpses at some of the most iconic productions in the history of the show. It's crazy that he managed to balance all three shows while continuing to work at Bank of America. He waited until he was certain he could succeed in this career before quitting his employment. His accomplishment was all the more remarkable because of that kind of caution. He had no desire to be famous. He was creating something durable. Additionally, this historic mansion anchored Kevin even further into the realm of home remodeling, while providing fans with a glimpse into the franchise's past. He accomplished something that no other ancient house host had done in 2010. To commercial TV, he sprang. Kevin seamlessly transitioned from public broadcasting to television, with this new home on DIY Network. The presentation, which Amy Matthews co-hosted, highlighted modern building techniques and smart house technology. It was a risk. It worked despite the new format and audience. Kevin demonstrated his ability to take the lead in both the PBS and commercial worlds, and the show received 2 Emmy nominations. He was specifically chosen by the network because of his aptitude for clearly communicating complicated concepts. He became one of the most reputable figures in the industry, thanks to his combination of actual learning and TV credibility. Then followed his book, which was his largest personal endeavor, with more than 200 images showcasing the most breathtaking makeovers in the show's history. Kevin released The Best Homes from This Ancient House in 2011. It was unique because it was so intimate. Mike Casey, a friend from college, helped him design it and took the pictures. A best-selling book, one idea, and two pals. Fans have the opportunity to explore completed homes up close and hear behind-the-scenes stories for the first time. It was more than simply windows and walls. It was about beauty, workmanship, families, and people. Kevin joined the editorial board of this old home magazine as a result of the book's successful sales. His voice now influenced the brand across every media, including digital, print, TV, and books. It was not Kevin O'Connor's intention to start a storm. However, one interview completely upended the home renovation industry. He didn't mince words when questioned about contemporary, do-it-yourself shows. He referred to the majority of them as jerks. Not only uninteresting or slothful, but absolutely useless. Some of them, he claimed, couldn't keep his attention for even a moment. Throughout the industry, that one sentence went viral. The audience was taken aback. The other hosts were incensed. It wasn't just anybody who spoke. It was the most reputable name in remodeling television, and the face of this old mansion. Kevin didn't back down. He doubled down. He claimed that these shows were deceiving the public with their glitzy weekend makeovers, illogical expenditures, and unrealistic timeframes. He cautioned that because the shows were phony, people at home were attempting to replicate these changes, but failing not because they were stupid. That struck a chord. His honesty was commended by certain insiders. Others accused him of being conceited and attempting to control who might instruct in house renovation. Kevin wasn't merely venting, though. He was making a distinction between instruction and entertainment. On the one hand, networks such as HGTV were transforming renovation into reality television. Conversely, Kevin stood tall on PBS, emphasizing the teaching of practical skills. He dubbed it the War of Philosophy. He claimed that waste was fostered by television shows. Flip a house quickly, make it look nice, and then sell it for a profit. However, he wished to draw attention back to a home's foundation and its craftsmanship. He even claimed that these ostentatious performances were harmful. They gave customers the impression that they could completely remodel their kitchen in a single weekend and do it correctly. Furthermore, such a mindset may cause actual harm. HGTV celebs quickly began retaliating. Kevin didn't grasp their audience, they said. They had not been constructing cathedrals. They were giving common people hope that they might improve things at home. Kevin remained unfazed as the gap widened. What Kevin didn't discuss, however, was what people found most perplexing. This historic house was started in 1979 by Bob Vila, who left under a cloud in 1989. Kevin never once brought him up. Bob had been hosting a public television-funded show and earning $500,000 annually from endorsements. His endorsement of a competing store to Home Depot, which supported the show, sparked a scandal. He got ejected. Nevertheless, Kevin said nothing. Nothing, no praise, no condemnation, nothing for over 2 decades. Insiders believe the quiet is intentional, a wise choice. VA remains a major player in the home remodeling industry. Reopening old wounds could be the result of bringing up the past. Kevin has always been a long-term thinker, avoiding conflicts that don't help him. Even when things got heated, he maintained friendships on both sides of the industry in this way. But Kevin isn't going to keep silent about one thing: craftsmanship. He'll correct you if you say something disparaging about the way houses were constructed a century ago. Old builders weren't dumb, he claims. Based on what they had, they made wise decisions. Coal was inexpensive. There was no fiberglass insulation. And forget about power tools. Thus, while it made sense at the time, some homes did not have insulation. Kevin claims that contemporary builders are quick to disparage these decisions, without knowing the whole context. He opposes the tiny house fad as well. The phrase "smaller is greener" is widely used. However, Kevin contends that inefficiency isn't always correlated with scale. According to him, a badly constructed 1,000 square foot home from 15 years ago can use more energy than a contemporary 5,000 square foot home. He argued with sustainability experts about that, but he doesn't seem to care. Before passing judgment, he wants people to understand. There is a man who has done extremely well for himself behind all of these ideas. Each episode of This Old House and Ask This Old House brings in about $10,000 for Kevin. As of 2022, that amounts to more than $380 episodes hosted, millions of dollars from TV alone. In contrast, Bob Vila made only $200 per episode in the beginning and reached a maximum of $800 by the end. Kevin has a rate that is over 12 times greater. About $5,200 was earned by VA per season. That comes to almost $15,000 when adjusted for current currency. In contrast, Kevin did that in 2 episodes. His current estimated net worth ranges from $5 million to $7.68 million. However, television isn't the only source of revenue. Kevin is now a well-known figure on the speaking circuit. He receives between $15,000 and $50,000 for each keynote. He does not simply appear and discuss hammers. He gives whole industries a boost. He served as the keynote speaker at the massive landscaping trade conference, Equip Exposition in Kentucky, in 2024, which was supported by Crest. The future of equipment contracts and keeping up with changes in the industry were the main topics of his discussion. There is more to these speeches than money. They have to do with influence. They enable him to establish connections with business leaders, builders, and manufacturers. He is more than just a host now. He is a leader. Additionally, their reach creates opportunities for strategic alliances, investments, and partnerships. This is where Kevin's previous life enters the picture. He was heavily involved in real estate finance before the TV. He was a vice president at Fleet Bank and Bank of America, where he structured multi-million euro loans for professional sports teams and developers. He has inside knowledge that most TV hosts don't have because of it. He is skilled at identifying a wise investment. He is skilled at structuring transactions, and he understands how to turn a profit. He is the CEO of Bridge, a company in which he has covertly invested $5.1 million in stocks. He makes about $1.5 million annually from those assets. He also refrained from purchasing a gaudy new home for his family. In 1894, he purchased a Queen Anne Victorian home in Hamilton, Massachusetts. It is more than just a house. It is a focal point, a statement, and a location that aligns with his brand and ideals. It's not like Kevin O'Connor inherited a program. He left behind a legacy, and he managed to sustain it during some of its most trying times. October 2022 presented the largest obstacle. The soul of this old mansion, Norm Abram, retired. Since the first episode in 1979, he had been there. That is 43 years of sweat, sawdust, and unparalleled artistry. He was more than just a carpenter. Norm took over as the show's face once Bob Vaugh departed. For years, Norm oversaw the projects, clarified the difficult parts, and even stepped in when Kevin had to take a break. Losing Norm was like losing a piece of the show's soul, much like when Kevin's son was born. Kevin, however, remained calm. He meticulously prepared the changeover. He ensured that viewers wouldn't be confused. While maintaining Norm's presence on television, he gradually added fresh faces. In 2020, Roger Cook's departure due to health issues was akin to this. For almost 40 years, Roger, who arrived in 1982, was the quiet landscaping specialist, who added wisdom and serenity to every yard. There might have been a void in his presence, but Kevin again handled it well. In order to ensure that the show continued to seem like this ancient house and not a reboot, he introduced Gen Nada gradually. Kevin's ability to honor the past without becoming mired in it was what made his handling of these transitions so astute. He carefully passed the torch, preserving the show's personality rather than merely replacing characters. Kevin, however, didn't end with cast changes. He was also aware that TV viewing habits were evolving. Thus, he modified the format while preserving the unique elements of the show. Bob Vaugh used to walk through a site and discuss everything in a single, lengthy take that could last up to 12 minutes. They would film scenes for 4 to 6 minutes straight, even in Kevin's early days. However, people's attention spans are shorter now. Kevin adapted. Camera shots now last seconds rather than minutes. Faster, sharper, and tighter segments. However, the show never got flimsy. His inquiries also changed. He started out as the inquisitive homeowner, asking, "What is this?" and gradually shifted to more in-depth inquiries. How does this operate? What is the reason for this method? He retained the beginner-friendly tone while using his more than 2 decades of knowledge to provide viewers with more insightful responses. Kevin also maintained the show's deliberate, methodical pace. This old house still only undergoes 2 complete renovations per season, in contrast to other home programs that complete 5 projects in a single episode. That's all. However, each step is demonstrated, and each issue is described. The how is still as important as the wow. And devoted viewers adore that. The digital era then arrived, and Kevin was prepared for it as well. He started a podcast called Clear Story in October 2019 that explores the backstories of home systems. It was intelligent, captivating, and in-depth, not just filler material. Discussions included everything from how windows operate to why Las Vegas may be the key to cheaper water rates. With a 4.8 out of 5-star rating on Apple and a position in the top 1% of all streamed podcasts, the show became a hit. This Old House took a risk in 2021. It joined forces with Roku. All 1,500 episodes of Ask This Old House and This Old House are currently free to stream. They even have a channel that streams continuously. This implies that fans don't need a cable to listen in at any time on any device. Kevin didn't stop there either. He was a co-founder of This Old Toolbox, a platform for DIYers to rent tools. It was more than just a commercial decision. It was the next phase of a well-defined plan that directly linked the instructional content of the program with the equipment people need to perform their jobs. Indeed, Kevin O'Connor broadcasts a show on house renovation, but his true work involves preserving a tradition, updating a format, branching out into new platforms, and creating connections between media, education, and practical action.